you check the children? Show a little match sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil, Laird.
Robert Duell.
And Jaime and Fuego here.
Continuing our review of the Tremors series with Tremors 2 Aftershocks.
Yes.
Now, this is one that definitely came out about 5 or 6 years after the first movie.
96, I believe.
Yes, because the reason I know that is because I was working at Galaxy Video.
Nice.
It was
Tell me about
my first actual job, quite frankly, and it was a local video store right on the corner next to where I lived. And I was in there so much, they let me start working there. And one day, I talked, I'm sure, all the time about my love of horror movies because I was considered the horror expert of the whole place. And I always talked about Tremors. And so one time he pulled me back into the employee lounge area and was like, "Hey, I have something for you. Here, do you want to review this and let us know how many copies we should buy?" And he handed me a screener for Tremors 2 Aftershocks. And so this was before the movie had even come out. And this is also, remember, guys, before there was the internet, really. That was where the internet had just started, but it was like Prodigy and AOL and stuff. And there weren't really a ton of things devoted to all things horror, you know? So no one knew that this was coming. So I found out.
That's about it.
Yeah, I found out, and I was like, oh my god, I was so excited because I love Tremors so much. I took it home. It had that scroll on the bottom that said it was a screener, but I got to watch this movie, and I've really loved this movie ever since, but even upon a rewatch just for these reviews, I think I love this movie even more now. Like, this movie is easily the most solid of all the sequels. Even including 4. I think I might like 4 better overall, but this I still think is a better movie, personally. It's the most appropriate follow-up to the first film, even though we don't get Val McKee was his last name.
Yeah, it's that
even
guy.
though we don't have him coming back, we had Fred Ward's character coming back, Earl, and then we have Grady introduced, which was a good foil for Earl. So I love Tremors 2 Aftershocks, although it is the first, but not the last time that the, basically between Tremors 2 and Tremors the series, all the way up until Tremors 5, the CG is 100% suspect and does not hold up in any of those films.
This one, it's just light enough where anyway, we will get to it.
Well, yeah.
When the things are running at you towards the
They're-
end, and
no,
their
they
feet,
are really
their
bad.
feet aren't even connected to the
The
body.
daytime
Yeah.
shots were very bad.
Yeah.
I will definitely say that. But still, at least at night, those nighttime shots when you first see them and everything, it's a little
It's just
more
when they're
classical.
charging that they have to have them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's
Yeah.
practical versions of
Yeah,
it.
Oh, yeah,
exactly. It
yeah.
doesn't have an excessive amount of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I love it. So, Robert, your
Yes.
thoughts on it?
So with this movie, I wish I could have that list from the video stores of how many goddamn times I rented this movie, because it would be a laundry list. Like, I loved this movie so much as a kid, and I still do. So it was really nice to go back and just have another excuse to watch it again. But yeah, no, like this is definitely my top one. Like, I still love this out of any of the other ones, even the first one.
Really? Wow.
Yep. No.
Okay.
This one, because like I said, I rented this thing so many goddamn times. Like, it was like weekly. Like, return it, rent the damn thing again.
I wouldn't blame. I'm sure I think he might have just let me keep that screener, to be honest
Oh really?
with you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like this and Monster Squad.
Yeah, Monster
Like,
Squad
I
was
rented that
dope too,
so much as a kid and everything.
PG-13 horror, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, but no, it's like I absolutely love this movie, and it was a great follow up and whatnot, and the practical effects is still, again, it still holds up. Like we were just saying, the CG, not so much. Even obviously in the later installments, just because the budget wise, the CG
It's worse.
wasn't all that great, but the practical was still always there, and even now, I guarantee, even with the 7th one, like with whatever practical they have, it's still going to be solid.
There's not that much practical anymore with them,
Well,
unfortunately.
yeah,
To a
new
degree,
trailer,
No, for the most part, there's really not anymore.
For the close-up shots, I remember in 5 at least, we had some decent ones.
Watch it
Was
again.
there?
Okay,
Was there?
okay.
Watch it again.
It's been a while since
There's
I watched
not been
it.
that many
Well,
close-ups.
it's me, right?
Because they all are spiny. They all jump in and out of the ground now, so they never
That's
actually
what it
come
was.
out, and you don't
Okay.
actually see
It's
them
still
that way.
fun,
No,
though.
yeah,
Okay,
there's-
I'm gonna have-
they've done away with the practical.
Okay, I'm gonna have to
almost entirely.
go back through those again. Okay.
Fuego.
Yeah.
Aftershocks, yeah. This is one that when I saw on the sleepover doubleheader back in the day, I remember being very disappointed because of no Kevin Bacon. And I think that clouded my judgment a little bit, although I like the evolution, I like the expanding of the universe and the mythology of these creatures, so to speak. I like the little RC car stuff. I thought that was inventive and cool. But there's 2 kills in particular, one at the very beginning, and then another one with a dude's legs getting chewed up.
Oh,
that
yes.
always stuck out to me when I was like 12 or 13 and initially saw that. And I was like, damn, that might even be a little crazier than some of the kills that I saw, because it was... In the first one, it was kind of a little more of a Jaws situation. You either found the aftermath or there was kind of an off-screen sort of thing and you didn't see it actually happen. In this one, yeah, they showed it. So
Walter Chang, you saw it happen.
That too. Yeah.
But the actually gnawing of the limbs.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah. And it still eludes me. I was like, if you look at their mouth, how it is, how the fuck is that happening?
It's a curved beak, man.
Yeah, it's all made with
Unless there's like
suspension of
it's like
disbelief.
acid saliva, so that's how it breaks down everything. I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe. But yeah, I'm totally with you guys that upon a rewatch, this rivals the first one for me.
Thank you.
At least as far as a fun factor goes, there is still a little bit more of a straight-up horror movie vibe to the original film, and a lot of comedy, a nice injection of it. This film, dare I say, is more fun and just a little more jovial in that regard, especially with how
they reveled in the silliness.
They really did. They embraced it, man. And
Precambrian. What?
Yeah. Yeah. So for that reason, this one is way closer to the original upon watching it the other night as opposed to it was before. I did recall really digging it. It's probably ahead of 4 now for me, which I used to hold 4 as my absolute second fave, like you were saying. Now that's a tough argument for me. So
So the story is it's after the events of the first one, where Val has gone off and married Rhonda. Earl even says, "Why would Val want to get involved? He married a good woman. Why would he want to die?" That's a really good line in the movie. But he has a Graboid video game machine,
arcade,
but it's pointed out that he didn't get a cut of it, and he's living in a trailer still. He didn't make any money from they were on Time magazine and stuff like that.
They had the Reebok ad that they talk about where they were running.
So it's really funny, but he invested in ostriches instead. But this guy Grady shows up and tells him that there's been a Graboid sighting in, I think, what was it, Argentina or something?
He
was Mexico.
He was a taxi driver for the government guy from Mexico.
Okay. So anyway, he comes and gets Earl, and they go to, since he knows how to kill the Graboids, he's hired to do so at a price of $50,000 per Graboid. And so they go Graboid fishing, essentially. And like, the fun thing about this movie is you're immediately into the fun and games, where they're fishing and blowing up Graboids, and eventually Earl has to invite Bert into the situation. Exactly. So he's like, "I'm in a kind of situation down here, Bert." He's like, "What kind of situation?" He's like, "A Graboid kind of situation." And he leans forward. He's like, "Oh." But the best thing I loved about it was on the wall. You see the taxidermy on the wall, and then you see the Graboid head from the first movie mounted to the wall.
You can't say you wouldn't do that if you should.
100%. 100%. But we also found out that his wife left him.
She's still visiting her sister.
So anyway, they go and they hunt, and Bert joins the fray, and they have a little contest. But all of a sudden, things change when all the Graboids disappear. After one of them seems to get really sick and almost explode overnight, which was awesome because they introduced the vocalization, like a much heavier vocalization of the Graboids, which they've carried forward through the rest of the series. And it turns out that there is a metamorphosis that occurred where each Graboid now births 3 Shriekers, which are little bipedal land-born Graboids that hunt via heat signature instead of via auditory hunting. So they find this out slowly but surely, and then they have to try and survive. But it turns out that the little buggers, they multiply rapidly when they eat something. And so eventually they have to deal with basically a small army of them in the best way they can. And that's what happens for the rest of the movie. And as silly as it sounds, it just works so well as a sequel to the first movie.
Big time.
So I appreciated the story. I think it was fun. I liked the evolution of Earl's character because he meets a female scientist, because he figures he had to give up on his dream of the Playboy Playmate and all this
October
stuff.
1974.
Yeah.
October 74?
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah. So
She's like, I was a playmate.
it's just fun. It's
You.
just fun. I enjoyed the movie, and even though we didn't get anyone back from the original besides Earl, it still was such a successful sequel.
Gunner.
Bert,
Yeah, those are the
none of
only
the other
two.
townies though.
Yeah.
Until 3. But nonetheless, I just really loved how the story played out, and I liked the actors that we got. Some of them were obviously merely there to be cannon fodder, but the core group of people, I thought all were great again.
No,
How about for you?
most definitely and everything. I think one of like the solidifying things was like the sidekick character of Grady Hoover and everything. I like that kind of the smart ass kind of. It's like, all right, yeah, I understand it's serious, but gotta have some fun at least.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And here, Fred Ward's character and everything is just like, no, like you don't fuck around with these guys. Like you
Get off the ground,
yeah.
Grady!
It's like, I
Damn it.
know, don't worry.
Did you leave the radio on the ground?
Yeah.
I didn't
I didn't think about it.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
No, but
man.
then it's so funny. Think about that. They did that before Jurassic Park 3 did. Right? Because Jurassic Park 3 had the
with the
cell
cell
phone
phone.
and the
Yes,
thing,
yeah.
and this one had the graboid with the radio, which
Yeah.
was so fun because then when they start, do you hear that?
Yeah, it's
Who's
like,
playing
oh, God,
that
get off
song?
the ground.
I
Get off
recognize
the
that
ground.
song.
Yeah, like, and that's the fun thing. Like, we really lose until 4, and even outside of 4 with the series and 3, and even 5 and 6, they get away from the get off the ground of it so much when that's always what was so scary about these things to me.
Totally, yeah.
So this still holds that tight, and I love the movie. I just do.
And real quick, even on like we'll say like the sound and soundtrack and everything, real quick, is basically going back to what the first Tremors was with that nice, gnarly electric acoustic guitar and everything.
But with the Western vibes.
Yeah, like
Country
I love that.
Western, man.
Like I love
Some of my
the
favorite
Tremors
things.
theme song and everything when they're romping through the fields and everything, trying to get his attention. Like, oh man, something about that guitar riff, man. That was some sexy guitar riff. I don't know, man.
Any other thoughts on the acting and stuff?
Well, I mean, story, since I didn't really
Oh
get
yeah,
to...
sorry. Go
Get
for
to,
it.
no,
We're
it's
jumping
fine.
around
I mean,
a little
yeah,
bit.
sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. The one thing that I appreciate about this one compared to the third one so much is that it didn't try to do the same thing again. 3, unfortunately, cherry-picked a lot from 1 and 2 and just brought it and mishmashed it all together. 2 was totally different. It was a different setting. It didn't bring back all those characters for, just that's how we'll hook the audience. It did something drastically different. It was that goofy aspect. I didn't like Grady as much the first time I saw this, but his derpiness and, just kind of, I don't know, he becomes lovable by the end of it.
grow on
I
you.
mean, the scene where I was like, okay, I'm kind of into it is where that the pregnancy scene with the huge graboid, which looks so dope, and he runs over and he just
He
goes like,
slaps it.
Oh
slaps
yeah,
it and runs
yeah.
I
He's like,
thought
I touched
that was so funny.
Yeah.
Like it just endeared the character.
That
to
was
me.
coming up, and I was like, I remember someone slapping a graboid. Did that happen?
Yeah.
And then it happened. I was like, oh, that is it. Like, oh wow.
And also the first time, so we see it a lot in 5 when we go to Africa with the whole reality show thing. But I had forgotten that Bert was documenting through like his own video. logs in 2.
Yeah.
Now, like he was doing that way back in 2. You know, so it made absolute sense that he would go on to have his own show, hunting all kinds of crazy shizzle, and that's a review.
Because that
you
even
can see
opens
on the
up
channel,
for 3 and everything.
Yeah.
When down in Argentina.
Yeah.
So the last thing we got to talk about, we already touched on it a bit, is the effects, of course. The graboids themselves, the worms, except for maybe one moment, I think was all practical. I think one of them, it might have been practical, but still against a green screen for when it was having the convulsions.
Oh, what? Yeah.
'Cause one
during
point
that scene.
looked weird.
Yeah, I know.
So
what you're
I
talking
think it
about.
was still a practical thing, but I think they shot it on a green screen and added it to the place later because it looked a little weird.
That's
But
awesome.
otherwise, again, the worms are practical, and when it's like, and then when they find it laying there dead the next day, like
The
again, the
inside just
practicality,
blown up.
It's
but
gross
the worms just hanging out and just laying there dead and
Because
stuff.
what's cool is they even said like they ate their way out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the hollowed out version
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, it was just really cool until you get to the actual shriekers, which, again, when they're sitting still and they have the practical shrieker, it
Close-ups
looks
and
good.
movement and
Yeah,
stuff.
and when
It's
it
really-
raises up its thing to
Yeah.
look at
Yeah,
people, that's all
I dig
practical.
that, man.
But when they run at people, then it gets to the CG, and their feet like float underneath the body. It's really, really weird.
If you look past it, it's awesome.
Really, that stuff is really only like, it's a very minimal amount of shots compared to the practical stuff. so.
I still feel like they blended the practical with the CG way better in this one than in 3 and any of the subsequent.
Well, especially in
entries, really.
the final scene in the warehouse and everything, when you have the multiples and whatnot, like that was there was definitely a lot of the practical in there, but you could definitely see occasional like CG depending on how they're moving up on top of the walls and whatnot. But it looked fine.
So yeah, I mean, I think we've glowed enough about Tremors 2 Aftershocks. We need to move along to the rest of the series.
We got 2 more for today.
Yep, that's going to do it for our review of this one. Why don't you guys let us know in the comments down below if you've seen Tremors 2. What do you think of it? Or did you skip all of the sequels after the first one? Are you more inclined to watch these now or not, now that you know that there's 7 entries plus a series that aired on Sci-Fi once upon a time? So
Yes.
we're going to be reviewing all of that. So let us know what your thoughts are. And while you're down there, if you enjoyed the video, click the like button and subscribe. Ding that notification bell if you don't want to miss the other Tremors reviews going forward. We'll be back tomorrow with 3. Until then, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
Robert Duell.
And gracias, Jaime Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.